Hey everyone, so I'm making this video to explain Conclave from the perspective of someone who's generally experienced in it. I would consider myself a pretty good player, not one of the best, although I'm trying to make my way up there. Um, I've tried recording this a few times and didn't go well because my commentary while playing is terrible. Even if I allow my gameplay to suffer from that. So I'm gonna be standing, out of combat for the most part. I don't think, I mean, people might notice me here. I generally notice people here because I think my awareness is a lot better than most people's. But I don't think anyone here would notice me. Like the only player I would expect to notice me is Vader here. So. Uh, So to start, I'm gonna go over movement, which is the thing that people seem to have the most issues with in Conclave. They play it, they see people jumping around like that, and they have trouble hitting them. But what happens when you get more experienced? You've probably seen in some of my other videos that the movement isn't so much of a problem, and in my opinion, it's a very nice augment to gameplay. The parkour in Warframe really makes things interesting. I love the parkour system, and increased accuracy it changes the gameplay a lot more than people would probably think, because you could jump around against bad players and not die, but against good players you have to be a lot more cautious about your positioning and the effective range of your weapons, which is a really nice dynamic in high in a fast-paced combat. It becomes you know a contest of quick thinking, really, which is something I really enjoy about it. It's about countering your opponent's gear, synergizing your own gear, and also using it skillfully. Like with Ogress against a good player. Against new players, you can just like let's say there's one right there, you can just like shoot them, and if they're not moving very well, it hits them. Against a good player, you really have to lead your shots, and yeah, you have to lead your shots more. You have to track better. Uh, you have to parkour better if you want to get them with the melee or something. Oh, I see you. I see you. You have to track better if you want to get them with melee or something. Okay, he's being peaceful. Alright, so you have to track better if you want to get them with melee or something. And it's very skillful once once you get into like the competitive side of it. You know, really skillful, really strategic. But that does come with some of the issues of balance, though, and we don't really have that many problematic abilities and weapons, but there are a few, and they are notable. In terms of weapons, we have stuff like Daikyu. Daikyu really just has too much flight speed for its power. It's like it's basically a spammable one shot. You have to aim it well, but once you get that one shot, you know, your opponent's almost always dead. And let's see. We have other Pomac stuff like static core. I think static core is just a bit too easy to abuse because, you know, you just charge it up, you ram into someone, and then you get them with, you know, some melee, which is usually a dagger with Heart Seeker. And you know, in terms of abilities, we have stuff like Petrify. I'm not sure how hard Petrify is to aim, but you know, its duration is just too long. It's like it's overly punishing to be hit by it, basically. Oh man, I got kicked. You know, it's overly punishing to be hit by it. Uh, there are other abilities, but you know, it's really not many. You know, they do need to be addressed, but for the most part, you know, I think, you know, Conclave is pretty well balanced and enjoyable. I think that's a Teshin. Yeah. Although not very rewarding, which is, you know, very, which is also another very big issue in my opinion. You know, you get uh, basically nothing that's useful for PvE. You know, you get relic packs, which you could farm more efficiently from syndicates. It's like the relic packs are sort of like a compensation for using your time in Conclave. So, you know, it's not really rewarding enough to, you know, really encourage people to get better at it. You know, you occasionally get you know, a rare stance. You occasionally get Knights in from those weeklies, but you know, it's very rare stuff. It's not something that you would want to play Conclave for. You know, there's the only things to really play Conclave for are the cosmetics, which, you know, they're nice, but they're not useful. I think, you know, relic packs should be made cheaper, and you know, Teshin should sell stuff like Knights and whatever. But you know, in conclusion, you know, I think it is, you know, a highly enjoyable game mode. It's very skillful, very strategic, uh, and it's one of the few PvP experiences I've had where, you know, players have a very strong sense of individuality, or where players can have a very strong sense of individuality. And I'm actually going to make a separate video on that because, you know, I think that applies to both PvP and PvE. And it's probably the one thing that really keeps me playing this game, that really keeps me not sure what the word for it is, but it's the main drive of the game for me. And so, you know, before you fully judge Conclave, I would suggest, you know, playing several matches, adjusting your aim settings. Make sure you uh, just try to generally um, get better at it. Don't leave recruit conditioning too soon, or else you'll have a very bad time. You know, take your time with it, but you know, at the same time, you want to get better. In case you're curious, I don't, you know, recommend copying people's aim settings, but you know, in case you're curious, these are like all of my settings here, and these are my controls. But yeah, I'll just encourage, you know, giving it a good long try, maybe seeing some videos of experienced players, players like Hakiro, players like Take the L, players like Hazy Red Eyes, and I think it can be an enjoyable experience for a lot of people. You know, if you want, you know, the things that, you know, in my opinion, Warframe, you know, really has going for it, like, you know, the parkour system, the weapon variety. You know, if you want those things in an environment where you're really encouraged to use them, in an environment where you're really encouraged to be skillful, and to make it really competitive, to be able to differentiate yourself from other players through your skill and how you have that skill, I'd recommend just giving Conclave a fair chance. Take your time, try to get better, and hopefully I'll see you uh, in that top 10 list. Maybe hopefully I'll see you in the Clan Wars or whatever, or just generally playing Conclave. You know, it's really hard for me to organize my thoughts here, but yeah, I hope that this was a good perspective for you and that you enjoyed watching.